Izzy,
hmm
why did the shark get a job?
Okay, this either has to do with like a fin or a shark. Why did the shark get a job? I don't know.
To keep up with his financial
It
responsibilities.
was a fin. You looked at me like it was so wrong when I said fin.
Izzy, that's just my face. That's how I look
Anyway,
at people. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on another episode of Market Like It's Hot, where Izzy and I talk about dad jokes, marketing, and how to grow your business. And we are still looking for promotions on Dr. Pepper or Red Bull, so hit us up if you know a contact. Izzy, what are we talking about today?
your friend is not your target audience, and I'm gonna come out and say it straight the way that I wrote it. Your friend is not your target audience. So who is, and how can we help you find it?
Okay. So this makes me think of clients who show like their moms and their uncles and everyone their new website, but literally they're not selling that their services to that audience. Is this what you mean?
Yep. And
Yeah.
also, it's like, I don't know if well, actually, not my mom. My mom would be brutally honest with me. I feel like some parents, I feel like some parents, it's like they would, if their kid, no matter what age, showed them something, they would be like, oh, it's so good. Like, you need actual feedback besides it's just good, you know? So,
Mhm. Yeah. Yes. And some family members I think are really well-meaning. But for example, if one of your family members is an English teacher, they're going to nitpick all the grammar. But if you're, I don't know, trying to sell something to who has money? Nobody. Gen Z, I don't think a older generation English teacher is really going to understand how to give feedback on a website
yeah, my
unless they're cool in
mom
it.
was an English teacher and she used to
Oh shit. I'm sorry.
reread my essays I wrote, and the amount of Google suggestions I would get for grammar the next day was just insane.
Man, I just insult your mom? I'm so sorry.
No, it's not an insult. It was great
Everyone,
feedback.
yeah, Izzy's mom is actually pretty cool.
I would
But
rather have my mom be like that instead of like just lying to my face the entire time.
see, that's why I insult my kids all the time. It's character
As you
building.
should.
All right. So we've established that your friend is not your target audience, but let's explain why, right? So here we have the problem. Why you're listening to the wrong people. Izzy, how are we listening to the wrong people? There are
Yeah, so I
people.
gave some examples here. The
Okay.
cousin who has never bought anything from you just doesn't get a vote. If they're not contributing to like what you're like doing, whether it's a product or a service, they don't have any say on what they think about what you're offering. Because clearly, if
Yeah.
they're not buying it, one, something's wrong with the product, or two, they are not your target audience. So why would you listen to them in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I wrote, just because your BFF is good at Instagram doesn't mean their opinion is what is like valid, especially since like, oh, she could be targeting some other demographic on Instagram. Or just because she takes pictures of everything and posts it on Instagram doesn't mean she knows everything about social media.
Yeah. Oh
She
man,
could
that
just be
one.
screenshotting something off of Facebook that has like a cat on it and some kind of like life lesson over top of it. That doesn't mean she's good at Instagram, which means you don't have to listen to her.
Yeah. This one hurts because I hear it a lot, especially when it comes to social media. People are like, well, my kid so and so, they are on social media, like they're on TikTok, so they could just take over all of our social media. And I'm like, that's great, but what's the strategy? Or what if you're on social media but you're not targeting that? Like, let's say you sell, I don't know, what's an old person thing?
Also,
Is he?
what does your 13-year-old know about law, Jennifer?
Oh no.
I don't even know who Jennifer is. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Like, yeah. I mean, if it's just for posting, like literally you're giving them the picture, you're giving them the strategy, you're giving them the hashtags, you did all that research and you're looking at the analytics yourself, and all you want them to do is copy, paste, and schedule, I guess. Um, but if it's more like the strategy behind it and wanting to attract the right client, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah, and like also if it's the opposite of that and you're like giving them full control to represent your business, I don't think like saying like skibbity toilet on your personal like your business Instagram is like really great for you in that situation. So
Unless you're a plumber, Izzy.
see, now you're onto something. That's great actually. The plumbers missed out on that one, man.
Yeah.
That's actually good.
All
Mm.
right.
But it's because you already have that information of how to do it, and so therefore I trust you, you know?
Yeah. Well, is it a good idea though, skibbity toilet for a plumber? Because who's actually going to be hiring the plumber? Is it going to be the teenager in the household, or is it going to be like the 40 whatever year old parent who is run down and sad and contemplating their life choices? Like they might not even understand what that means.
Yeah, that or never mind. I was about to say like the 20-year-olds her first time like homeowners. I can't afford a house.
I know. That's where I'm living, guys. We should do a GoFundMe. Go fund Izzy's house.
Hopefully by 70 we'll
I
make
mean,
it.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Other things I wrote down. Friends love you, but they're biased or worse, uninterested in your business.
Yeah.
So either they'll lie to you, say it's great, or they just want you to stop talking. So then they'll just tell you it's great too, so they don't have to offer any more feedback. Um, somebody changing their whole brand colors because their roommate said that they hated orange.
Oh my God, this has happened before.
Yeah, I've had this happen to me as well before, and then yeah, that didn't work.
Yeah.
It's your brand. They don't know you. It's your brand.
Yeah.
Just because they hate the color orange does not mean you can't put orange in that logo.
Yeah. I've heard it from other agencies too, where like, let's say it's the wife is the owner and she asks for, you know, feedback from the husband, and the husband's like, no, this whole brand needs to change and da da da. And it's like, well, first of all, it's not your business.
Mhm.
They're not the target market. It's not even their business. And if the person really like the owner really likes, let's say hot pink, we could make that work, right? If that's part of their personality. But then if a parent or somebody comes in and says, well, why don't you make it green? Oh my God. Sometimes it just crushes their soul. You can see their soul being
Because it's not what
diluted.
they envisioned.
Yeah.
Somebody else's.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then last thing I wrote was, would you let your cousin give you financial advice? Then why are you letting them choose your fonts?
Yep.
So yeah, that's how I feel about this whole topic. So who would you say your target audience is then, Yasmine?
Whoever has the need and the ability to buy your product. So you need to define the real audience, which is the people with the problem you solve and the budget to solve it. So for example, there are a lot of clients who, here's a good example. So let's say you're a financial consultant for something, but you're focusing in on teenagers. Your main audience is not the teenager, it's the parents. And you're trying to sell to the parents because the teenagers don't have money, really. They probably don't care about how to learn how to budget. But the people that are really invested in this, probably financially and just like for their kids' futures, are the parents. So you have to think about who that audience will be. If you have an organization, let's say it's supporting single moms in Ohio, you now have slightly two different audiences because your money is coming from probably donations, sponsorships, like where is that money actually coming from? And then you have to target the audience that you want to support. So think about who actually has that money. and who's going to purchase. There's a story I like to tell from years ago. There was a person that was creating handmade soap, and it was beautiful and smelled great, and it was pricier than soap that I would typically buy. But her response to whom her audience was anybody from newborn to 100 plus years old can use my product. Cool. But like a newborn doesn't have a job.
No.
So, and and I don't know, with all the physical ailments that I have, at 100, I don't even know if I'd be able to leave my bed to buy your soap. So we try to whittle it down, and it's not just, okay, fine, people 18 and older. It's not just, 25 and older. There has to be a specific income. So we ended up coming into more of like the 35 to 55-year-old women, typically parents. They are well off, so they're not like pinching pennies for soap and getting it on clearance. They're either managers or, they have a career in corporate. So this is how you hone into that audience. And I think I just kind of went over all of our bullet points. So demographics are like the facts. So how old are they? Is it a female, male? Like, how do they identify? Where do they live? Do they live in Dublin, Ohio? Or are they like downtown people, right? Are they house people or townhome people, apartment people? Psychographics are really my favorite because it makes you feel like a stalker, but it's like, it's legal, right? So it's like you get to know your audience better than they know themselves, and it's creepy. But you can find data on like, all right, this 35-year-old person really likes to go shopping at Target. Or here's a really good one. Like this 35-year-old shops at Target and then heard what happened with Target and their DEI thing. And so now she's boycotting Target and she's shopping at Costco. So now you understand like where their values lie, where they used to love to shop and probably still want to shop there, but they have certain values that now have pivoted them to a different store. And that can give you a lot more information as to what brands they try to follow. So I would say those are the psychographics. I don't know, Izzy, if you want to add more to the demographic psychographics.
No, I think you explained it well.
Yeah. And what they care about, I mean, their values, what they're afraid of, never being a homeowner, and what they wish existed, equality for all, healthcare, guys. Women having autonomy. But other than that,
the basics.
The basics, because 5K for a child is totally going to pay for a month of a child's life. So anyways, what do they care about? What are they afraid of? It depends on what product you're selling, right? So if you're selling insurance, what are they really afraid of? Like, what's one thing that lawyers do? The whole thing, like when you die, what is that called? The will or whatever. Yeah. So like, they're not saying, oh, hey, you probably should get legally legit for your stuff after you die. They're probably going to say something like, what's going to happen to your children when you get murdered in the middle of the night?
No, that's what you say to yourself.
That if I get murdered, I told my kids that they better start a podcast if I get murdered.
It's either a bus or a murderer.
Guys, we have a file. I think it's called, no, wait, it's called Doomsday, or is it called Hit by a Bus?
Doomsday.
Yeah, businesses have to be prepared for anything that happens. And then how to gather actual audience insights. So direct messages, polls, conversations with your clients, email surveys, testimonial mining. After you complete a project with a client, you can send them a form asking for feedback on things and asking questions like, what was the actual problem that we solved for you? Because a website, yes, we can build you a website, but that's not the problem we're solving. We're probably solving more of, you want it to look more professional and not have a scammy website. If we're doing your SEO, you probably want it to be found locally and increase that brand presence. If we did a brand photo shoot, maybe you were tired of blurry pictures from 20 years ago that you still had on your site, right? So there's certain things like the actual problem that we're solving. And then if you want to get real creepy and or be creeped out, you can find a lot of the demographics and some psychographics. If you log into your local library, you just need a library card, and there's a couple of different programs. On the top of my head, I can't remember what they're called, but there's a couple of different ones where you can literally research down to, I think, the street for both businesses, B2B and B2C. And you can say, okay, I'm going to target this particular zip code and I'm going to send out flyers because it looks like most people here make this amount of money, have this many cars, have this many kids. And so, and it's all census data. So it can get pretty creepy of how much information is out there, but use it to your own advantage. And Izzy has disappeared. She's back.
Okay.
It's because I started talking about stalking people and she was really worried.
Yeah, I just had to hop out of here real quick.
So I told people to stalk people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's great advice.
Yeah. So Izzy,
Mm-hmm.
Izzy, how do you tell if you're being influenced by the wrong people?
Let me think. Well, one, I would always just say if you're going to take advice from anybody that is like related to you or your friend, make sure it's the one whose values align with yours and that you're actually getting good advice from them and that they would know what they're talking about. But I wrote down if you feel defensive about your ideas, so if they are like kind of tearing apart every thing of what you just worked on and it's not like a beneficial type of feedback, then I wouldn't want to be influenced by that type of person. It's either that they think they're better than you or they're jealous of you. That's what I think about that. And then they start saying, well, they said, or more, my audience responded. That means they value other people's opinions over their own, so you shouldn't even be talking to them in the first place. If you're constantly pivoting and you're never moving forward because you keep getting like feedback from all these different types of groups of people, time to start focusing on maybe just listening to yourself or getting a business coach who would like know more about your industry, who could lead you in the right direction. That's what I would say. You're afraid to niche down what you are focusing on because your friends like want to get it. So what I meant by that, like, if I'm going to use when I did You Heard. When I was creating You Heard in college, a lot of my friends would repost a lot of the things, but then they would ask me to post things about like being friends with someone who has hearing loss. That's not the purpose of the organization. It's to inform people about hearing loss. It's less about you. So everybody wants to be involved in something. I completely understand that, but don't let them like steer you away from what you're actually trying to accomplish. And last one, you're trying to impress people who aren't going to pay you. Why do you care? So yeah, that's my advice. And then what tips do you have to tune out all the noise of whatever I just said?
Well, usually I just daydream, but
I thought you said day drink.
oh, that too. Guys, it's the only thing that keeps me going now. Create a brand guardrail document. So basically who you are, who you serve, and what you don't do. So when we create these for clients, it'll have like your brand do's and don'ts, how you speak, the language you're going to use, how you describe yourself. I mean, it could be as simple as you saying, hey, we are like this movie character from The Office. Like that is our personality. So just having those guardrails. Set a vent to real talk boundary with friends. Can I get a hype sesh, not a critique? Izzy, what do you mean? Oh, I know what you mean. Like when I'm gonna go vent to my husband about something and I'm like, I don't want advice. I just want you to listen.
Yes.
Oh, cool, cool. There you go. And then so both for your business and apparently for speaking with your husband. Remind yourself your biz isn't a group project. Oh, I like this bullet point, Izzy.
Thank
It's
you.
not a group project. Yeah, I think people forget that, especially the owners, they second guess themselves a lot. And one thing is getting feedback from, like, I'll ask feedback from Izzy, right? Because she's involved in the business. Like, if I don't get paid, she don't get paid. Um, but getting feedback from like my 14-year-old or from a friend who's like in finance, you have to remember that they're probably not the target audience. They're also, and even if they are, it's not their project. So you are the boss and you get to make that ultimate decision. And gut check, does this feedback come from someone who matches your ideal client experience? Yes. And if you have studied and stalked your audience and have literally written out a profile with a fake name and lifestyle and everything for that audience, you can always go back and say, if I change this color in my brand to orange, what will this fake persona, Melissa, let's say, what will Melissa think of this color? Is this part of her aesthetic? Because just because someone like your husband or whomever, your uncle, whatever, is telling you maybe the color should change, your ideal client might not be, that color might not be what's appropriate for them. Yeah. So Izzy, we have next how to actually test if something works.
Yeah, so I said, don't ask your friends, ask the data. So if you have a website up already, or if you're posting on socials, look at the analytics. How are things performing? Is there things that you need to potentially change? And if you're gonna change it, do you want to listen to them? Or let's say you did make those changes and you saw within the data that they were bad changes because of those recommendations that they made. Scrap their recommendations.
Yeah, I like
That's
that.
what
That
I
should
would
be on a
say.
t-shirt. Also, that goes for everything, guys. Financials. If somebody says like, let's go out to, let's go buy blah blah blah, and you're like, let me check my bank account. That's kind of like asking the data, and then you're like, oh, I can't buy a house. Sorry.
Yeah.
I can't. I can only buy ramen this week, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Not eggs.
Not eggs. Not eggs, unfortunately. And then I wrote A/B test captions. So like, what is your tone within the captions? Is it your voice speaking or is it your mother's?
Oh, oh no.
What are the colors? Do they align with what you like, or is it, your best friend's shade of orange that she painted her room or something? And see what actual users are giving feedback wise too. The people who are actually engaging with your business. So, and then ask people who have actually paid you, whether that was a product or a service, what made you choose me over competitors? Then you can get some actual feedback there and then make changes based on what they said. And then I wrote launch, learn, tweak, repeat. Yeah.
This is tweak like changing, not tweak like my kid told me about people can be tweaking.
Does he mean like on drugs or does he mean
That's what
like,
I thought, but we were watching some guys. We
or
were
was it
watching
South
some
Park?
barman thing. I don't know. And he was like, man, that guy's tweaking. And I'm like, is he on drugs? And then my kid was like, what? No. And I was like, okay, this is on my list
I
to ask
think
Izzy.
tweaking nowadays means like they're mad too. Like
Oh,
if they're like unreasonably mad, like, oh yeah, they're tweaking.
oh shit. Man, nowadays you don't even need drugs to be tweaking anymore. This is how bad it's gotten.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so launch, learn, tweak, but that means change and repeat.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, so you want to roll the outro?
Thanks for listening, guys. And you probably learned so much. Like you probably learned you learned what tweaking is to the younger crowd. And that you don't apparently need to do drugs to be tweaking. You learned, what else did they learn? They learned to not ask their parents what they think of the website, unless it's like Izzy's mom, who's pretty cool. One of these days, I'm going to meet Izzy's mom. She's probably like, who is this lady? Damn it. And then, yeah. So if you have any questions about tweaking or marketing or how to tell off your whomever is telling you to make changes on your website when you actually don't want to, and you just remember that you are the business owner and get to make those decisions for yourself, let us know. You can go to myrebelmarketing.com. You can go to the contact page. If you feel like you want homework, you can go and download our workbook, myrebelmarketing.com/checklist. And it's a whole entire workbook dedicated to helping you understand your marketing, where it stands, and what pivots that you can make or tweaks.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Good.
Okay, cool. Which other one do you want to do?
Your friend is not your target audience. I'm gonna grab a Dr. Pepper real quick.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Blackberry.
Delicious.
It's so good. So good.
Okay. I'm getting my jokes out because apparently the one I memorized didn't work. Okay.